Okay, everybody, this is the second part two of how my wife and I came together, how God brought us together. Now, going back a little bit, what we wanted to do is rehash a little bit. By this point, we are communicating for the second time. There was a couple of months in between the first time in Tulsa, like you heard on the first video, and then there was the second time that I suggested at a Walmart in Orange County, California. And then Anna stayed there that night. And the reason why we wanted to come back a second time and not go any further is because from the second time that she asked me where was a safe, good place to rest, a lot of different things took place with her. It didn't just go from that Walmart to meeting. So I'm going to turn it back over to Anna, and she's going to share a little more. And then as we go along, I'll ask her questions, almost like a radio interview, because it's very interesting. We want to bring as much out of this story as we can, and what we remember, especially what she remembers. The coolest thing about this entire story is the biggest part of this story, at least up until the point that we meet each other, the few months before and up to the point we meet each other, is really God ministering to Anna and leading her from where she came from all the way down to Texas, all the way to Joshua Tree, and then 10 minutes from me, not knowing at all where I lived, not having any communication in any way other than, hey, this is a good place to rest. Hey, don't go there because that neighborhood's a little rough. And that's it from my point. So I was, like the Genesis chapter 2 reference, I was asleep. But I was giving her reference because I didn't know what God was doing. I didn't know God was leading her to me. I had no clue. So again, with that being said, we'll turn it over to Anna. So what happened after you had spent the night at that Walmart? And share with them where God led you from there.
Well, actually, I got kicked out of that Walmart that night, and I had to find a safe place to go. I slept on the side of the road somewhere where I didn't really know where I was. But the Lord led me to a safe spot, and after that, I kept driving the next day, and I drove actually all the way up to LA, and I asked the Lord, is this where I need to be? Is this where Adam is? And he actually redirected me back south. And where I ended up, my car wouldn't start. I ended up on the side of the road in a neighborhood, and I couldn't start my car.
And that was actually in Torrance, right?
That was Lakewood.
Lakewood,
yeah.
Yeah. So she went from Southern California, Orange County area, all the way up to Lakewood.
And actually, I did that because Adam did a video about Jonah going to Nineveh, and I thought that I needed to go to the big city. And then the Lord redirected me down to this place called Lakewood. And I have never been to California before, so I don't know anything about California other than where God was leading me.
Southern California, you've never been.
Oh, right. I've been to Northern. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, anyways, I was sitting at this park pondering what I should do next, and I watched one of Adam's videos, and the video was the river that turns into a road, and he was saying literally there will be a river that turns into a road. And I was looking behind me, and there was this river that had a walkway, and God said, that's the river that turns into a road.
Now, that's the interesting thing about this, is that as she goes along in these stories, God is directing her through my videos, and I have no clue all the way up until this point that I'm actually making videos that are being used by God to direct her where she goes this next month. Now, we didn't see each other, right? Or speak to each other for another month.
Right.
After this. So all the stories she's going to share is this following month that took place.
So I thought that this river that turned into a road would lead me to Adam. So I get on this road and I started walking, and it took me 12 miles, and I was heading to the beach. I wanted to get to the beach, and my car wouldn't start. So I knew God wanted me in that area, and I couldn't go anywhere. It was beyond my control. And I needed to look for help, for somebody to help me, give me a jump. But everyone I asked could not help me. No one had jumper cables. So I just decided to enjoy the day and take a walk to the beach and follow the river that turned into a road. And I thought maybe I'd find Adam on the way. So I walked 12 miles all the way out to the beach. And then I didn't want to get back on the road. I didn't want to keep walking backwards. So I got on a bus and I paid the bus fare, and I had the bus take me to where I thought I was getting closer to my van, and it actually took me further away from my van. And it turns out that it dropped me off right near Adam's parents' neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, obviously, at the time, but I was walking around in circles. My phone was dead, and I had no idea where my van was or how to get back to it. So at that point, I had to just trust God that he was going to take me back to my van. And I knew, the only direction I knew was that the sun sets in the west, and I had to go that direction. So I walked another 12 miles. It took me 22 miles that day. 22 miles to get back to my van. And I had never been more happy to finally get back to my van. But I didn't find Adam, but once we did find out, I realized why the Lord had me walk around in that area. That was where Adam had grown up.
Yeah, there was a lot of the area that she had trekked back 12 miles south is where I actually grew up, and spent a lot of my childhood there. So there was a lot of places like the Tulsa and not Joshua. I've been to Joshua Tree and the Padre Island. I've never been there. But there's a lot of places that the Lord led her for some reason before we were to meet each other, to places that were very familiar with me. So you had your van by this time. You were able to get it charged.
Well, yes, I was about to get a ticket, and the police officer gave me 3 days to get help, and I finally found, actually it was a homeless man who had a car, was living in his car as well, and he helped me get it started. And from there I went on to a place called Eagle Point, and Adam also did a video about eagles belong with eagles and not sparrows, and that was another profound video for me. And so I ended up there for another 4 or 5 nights. And
then you went back into where you originally, close to where you stayed at that particular Walmart, and met a bunch of people at a garden, a big park.
Yeah, I was actually walking around another park and meeting some people there and just telling my testimony, and found out that they were needing volunteers. So I started volunteering at this urban garden, pulling weeds and watering the flowers, and just kept myself busy trying to do some kind of work while I was in the process of trying to figure out where God wanted me to be. And
that's when you actually sent me an email.
Yeah, I actually...
and asked me about...
The Lord allowed me then, finally, to ask Adam, or tell Adam, that I believe that I'm your rib. And at this point, Adam was still asleep.
And tell how I reacted, and your reaction.
So yeah, I get an email back from him, and he says, well, the Lord is telling me that we could be friends, and I can pour the Word of God into you, but I don't believe we have a future together.
And maybe you're looking for
an Adam type. And
so
at that point, I was pretty upset because I knew the Lord was leading me to him. He showed me his picture. He said, "This is your husband." But I also knew that he was asleep. So I kept that always in my mind, knowing, okay, and I would ask God, is it time to wake him up yet? When do we get to wake him up? Because it was starting to get frustrating. And I went in that day and I just pulled weeds. I was angry. I was like, God, I know you're not lying to me. I know this is who I'm supposed to be with. And then I went into my van and I just prayed. And when I was 15 years old, the Lord gave me the gift of tongues. And it has been developing ever since I was young. But at that point, the gift of tongues has been really developing through all of this journey. And I just started praying in the Spirit and asking God, okay, Lord, it's time to wake him up. It has to be time soon. Am I close to him? What's going on? And the enemy wanted me to give up and go back home and go back to Michigan and just throw in the towel. But God kept telling me, don't give up. I'm telling you that he's going to wake up soon. And so I just kept myself busy working for the urban garden and helping the homeless. And then another video Adam did was a gift in the 9th week. And God told me that gift was for me. But he didn't tell me it was Adam, and I didn't know what kind of gift it was. I just knew something was going to happen in the 9th week.
And I did the video, of course, and you guys can check it out on my video list. And I had no idea it was for me. I had no idea it was for me at all, and it ended up being for both of us. And a lot of things happened in the 9th week of the year. From Wednesday to Wednesday in that 9th week. And some pretty amazing things. But yeah, she was reminding me the other day about the different people she would talk to, especially the homeless people and some guys. And some men would say, well, I can be your Adam.
Yeah, I had a lot of counterfeit people come at me. And the reason why was because I was actually telling people my story. And I think the Lord wanted me to keep that quiet. He also did a video about don't say a word. And I didn't listen to that one very well because I was telling people, and these men were coming at me as counterfeits saying I could be your Adam, and I knew that they weren't my Adam because I knew what he looked like, and they thought I was crazy, and they were, trying. But that's the enemy coming at you when you get the counterfeits.
And I know some people are listening to this video probably think we still are crazy, but everything has actually come together in such an amazing way that we can also say, and I could say for myself, even by this point, now you have the first suggestion in Tulsa, the first time I talked to her, first conversation, then the second one 2 months later, and then the third one, she's asking, is God saying anything about you and I? Because I think you and I are supposed to be married. And of course my reaction is a negative one. And so she keeps trucking. She keeps doing what God tells her to do. She keeps waiting upon the Lord. She doesn't demand anything from me. She doesn't ask me anything else. And she goes through all of these things that God is taking her through. The different people she interacted with.
Then there was another video, that he did about emptying your room, emptying that one room. And 2 days before he did that video, God had me empty out the van. I had a bike, and I actually had a bed, and I had lots of extra clothes, and I had a lot of things that I didn't really need. And so I started giving hats and gloves out to the homeless people. I gave my bike away to a homeless man. I went to the Salvation Army and just emptied all my stuff and basically just saved a few things that I needed. And I ended up sleeping on the floor in my van because God said empty it out. And I did that before Adam did the video, and then he confirmed it with the video. And so I knew that was for me too. And that's something that God wants all of us to do, is to empty things out of our lives. And he will bless us. The more we give, the more he gives. Can't outgive God.
So with that being said, we're going to have to do a part 3 cliffhanger, folks. We didn't want this too long, so we'll do a part 3 to tell you how we actually met. But you needed to hear some of the things that God took her through, and you'll hear more of those things. I just don't want to make a gigantic video so everybody can, stay with the story. So we promise you, part 3 is coming. So God bless you guys. You have a great day.
Have a good day.